Hello my lovelies, and welcome back. So now we're going to get on with the Pinafore and the Cardigan this week. That's the plan, so we're going to get them finished. So I don't think I have much to say. Just without further ado, we will get on with it. Let's go.
Blue skies from now on.
I'm going to start with the pockets. I know I've been talking about doing the pockets like all last week. I was talking about doing the pockets and never actually did them. But what I've done is I've overlocked all around all four edges of the pocket. I'm pressing in really just a tiny bit more than the amount of the overlocking. I'm checking which way the pile goes in the cord so that I can decide which is the top and which is the bottom of the pocket. And I'm going to do some little mitered corners here to make it nice and neat. So press in that little corner and then fold up. Yeah, I'm going to get a pin out. Fold up and then fold in. And hopefully that should leave us with a lovely, tight, neat mitered corner. And I'll do the same at the other side. And that should keep it all nice and neat. Actually, it's very unusual for me to do this, but I've actually decided I'm going to baste it into place to hold it down while I sew it, because I really don't want it to shift around. I want it to stay nice and neat, because with the cord it looks nice if it's all really sharp and neat, and I want those corners to stay really sharp and neat, so it's going to hold much better if I baste round it before I sew it. For the top edge of the pocket, I'm turning over a little bit more than I did on the rest, maybe just over an inch, around about an inch, and making sure the sides are nice and tucked in, and then I'll baste that into place as well. What I'm doing is running one line of stitching at about an inch in from the edge so that I catch that hem underneath, and then another line of top stitching really right on the edge, really close to the edge, a couple of millimetres away from the edge, and I'm getting a nice neat two lines of top stitching that's holding the top hem of that pocket neatly into place. Then I'm going to go round the rest of it, and I want it to look, once it's on the dress, to have like two lines of stitching all the way round, so that at this point I'm doing a line of stitching about a quarter of an inch in from the side, and that's catching down the hem. And we're taking it back over to the table because it's time to place those pockets. So I've been very scientific. I've held it up against myself and put my hands roughly where I want them and put a little pin there, and then using that, I'm measuring from the bottom of the dart and in from the side to pin on that pocket, that first pocket. And then I'll do the same at the other side. I'll measure the same amount down from the dart and the same amount in from the side. Look at me measuring and everything. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. There we go. And then once I've got them pinned in place, I'm going to measure up from the bottom all along just to make sure they're both the same distance up, and then we're going to take it back over to the sewing machine and sew right on the very edge, like literally as close to the edge as I can, about a millimetre away all the way round both pockets, so that I've got maximum pocket capacity. And this is how the finished pocket looks. I've put on my little tag, my Love from Liz Handmade in Cornwall tag. We've got the two lines of stitching at the top, and then the two lines of stitching all the way round, and it looks quite neat if I do say so myself. Quite happy with that. Job done. Now time for side seams. So I put them both right sides together, match up all those registration notches, and start pinning it into place. Okay, back to the sewing machine to sew them in place. And obviously then we take it back round to the ironing board and iron them. Pressing the seams open at this point. So you can probably tell from looking at me, I'm having a bad day today. A bad day. But it's a beautiful day. I'm sitting outside in the garden with a cup of tea. It's lovely and fresh, it's not too cold. The cats are having a little moogle around and it's delightful, and it is definitely lifting my mood, but I don't know how long I'm going to manage to be out of bed today, but never mind. I don't know how much crafting I'll get done today. I might get a little bit of knitting done later and that'll be nice. It's the Strictly Final tonight, so I will definitely be up for a while later for the Strictly Final because I love that, and I will knit during that. But I'm just going to sit here and enjoy my cup of tea with the lovely blue sky above me and just exist for today. That's the plan. So as it happened, I didn't get much more crafting done, but the next day I managed to get the lining cut out and marked up. Hello lovely people, we're going to ignore what is going on here. There's nothing to see here, it's a figment of your imagination, and we're going to update, we're going to get on with things. I'm going to give you a bit of an update on my Cardigan. Now, where I left it was, I had the yellow inside the hood and I was doing the yellow facings down the side, and we ran out of yarn. And I went online and I phoned around my yarny friends, and it was out of stock online and nobody had a ball available, and I needed like less than a ball to finish it off. It was so frustrating, but what I ended up doing was undoing it all, ripping it all back, frogging it all back and going with a different colour. So we've got a red lining in the hood, and I've done the facings, I've just got to sew them in. So later on this evening when I'm sitting watching a bit of telly, I will sew them in, and this is almost finished. I just need to attach the little patch pocket and that'll be done. So that's later on. Oh, ow, ow, okay, so that's my what I'll be doing while watching Pointless and House of Games this evening. Right now I'm going to prep up the darts in the lining for my little pinafore, because the pinafore itself is at the stage where it's ready for the lining to go in. I've marked up the darts. I did it in green felt tip pen because who's going to see the lining of my pinafore apart from you guys? And I'm just going to get these darts pinned and sewn and whatnot, and then we can attach the lining to the pinafore. So yeah, let's get on with things. So for a little bit of fun, I thought I'd show you an alternative method of prepping up a dart, just because I can. So I'm doing it with basting thread and doing a ladder stitch up either side of the dart legs. It's quite clever really, because you do this on the right side, and you do the ladder stitch up both sides of the dart, trying to keep it as kind of even as possible, and then you can just pull it together and that's your dart basted, and you can see the stitches from both sides. So when you take it over to the sewing machine, it doesn't matter which way you lay it down, you can still see the stitches. It's very clever. Then when we get to the end, we pull on the thread and voila, your dart is closed. And then we're back over to the sewing machine, and we're just going to sew up those darts exactly the same way as we did on the pinafore on the main fabric. The whole thing is exactly the same as before. I'm at it again, folks. Cherry crumble this time. So Stuart defrosted the freezer and there was like 2.5 bags of cherries. And he says, oh, they need used up. So, you know, what else am I going to do? Cherry crumble and, brandy cream. And a little cup of coffee. Time for a break, I think. Tonight's restful sit and watching my programmes is sewing those facings down. So this is how I do it. Just a little right sides together ladder stitch. Yep. No, don't do that. There we go. Okay. Again, nothing to see here. Don't worry about this. We're going to put the... I didn't bother showing you... Don't do that. I don't want to see them. I want to see them. I want to see me, not them. There we go. There we go. So I didn't bother showing you how the lining went together because it went together exactly the same way as the pinafore. But now they're both together, we're going to put them right sides together. So I'm popping I've got the pinafore inside out. I'm putting the lining the right way in and putting it inside the pinafore so that they're right sides together. I hope that vaguely made sense. And I will, instead of looking down and not showing you anything but the top of my head, I'll move the camera. So I'm starting at the back of the neck. I've still got the back seam of the lining basted shut at the moment. I'll open it up a little bit just to allow sewing, but I'm matching up the two darts at the back and obviously matching up the edges of the seam. Now you'll notice I'm actually not going to go right up to the shoulders. I'm only going to go probably about 1.5 to 2 inches away from the top of the shoulders, and that's going to be the same on the armholes as well, and I'll show you why later when we get to that. So I've opened up that back seam a little bit just to allow a bit of ease of movement, and I'm still keeping the seam allowance folded back out the way and pinning right to the edge so that I can sew right to the edge of that back neck there. Now again, we're doing the same on the armhole, starting about 2 inches away from the top of the shoulder there, and I'm going to pin all the way around using my registration notches and the side seams as guides. And then I'm just going to do exactly the same on the front neck. So at the front neck here, I'm matching up the V at the front, and I'll start pinning there and pin up the both sides of the front neck, and again leave that 2 inches at the top of the shoulder. Now I'm actually going to use a pen and a ruler to mark my seam allowance on just the front neck, because it just helps me to know when to stop sewing and turn around to go back to get the V. And of course I've got my supervisor come to make sure I get that right. My supervisor, who incidentally is sound asleep on my knee as I'm doing this voiceover. She's just letting out the occasional soft snore. Then obviously once we've sewn it, we're going to clip our curves so that things lie nice and flat and smooth once we iron it the right way in. And we're going to clip that front V right down to almost the stitching line and remove any bulk from either side so that lies nicely. Now I'm going to go in and do some understitching, which how you do that is you put all the seam allowance, both sides of the seam allowance, over to the lining side and sew along about 1/4 inch from the edge all the way round. And what doing that does is mean that when you turn it round and press it, it holds the lining to the inside so it doesn't... Hello my darlings. I will never ever be able to say hello properly. It's just I've accepted it now. So it's not morning, it's actually halfway through the afternoon, because it's not a very nice day, and I did wake up when hubby woke up at 7:30 and he brought me a cup of coffee, and I had my cup of coffee, and then my body went, nah, nah, we're not doing today. And I went back to sleep and I slept till lunchtime. So here we are. By the time I wash my face and things, it's, I think it's nearly 2 o'clock. But that's life. That's life. So I've got a cup of tea. This is, I bought this for hubby's 25th wedding anniversary. He bought me a lovely silver chain, and I bought him a mug that says it's too late to swap you now. That, I think, tells you everything you need to know about our relationship. I do love him. Anywho, if I get all lovey-dovey with him, he thinks there's something wrong and panics. So, he's used to me now. Anywho, what I'm going to do today, because yesterday I got a bit tired and I sensibly stopped before I started making mistakes, which is always clever. So today we're going to join the shoulder seams. Now there's various ways of doing lining on a sleeveless thing so that you get everything nice and neat. And you either have to do a little bit of hand sewing, a lot of hand sewing, or you have to use that weird burrito method, which I hate and have never been able to get to grips with. So this is how I do it. So I will walk you through how I'm going to join these shoulder seams, and once I've joined the shoulder seams and done the hem, that's this little pinafore finished, which I'm really quite chuffed about. I will be completely transparent with you, this has not been just this week's work. Because Annie wasn't very well towards the end of last month and beginning of this month, I had to take quite a few breaks when I was doing the jumpsuit because she wasn't around to try it on, and she didn't feel up to trying it on and things like that for doing adjustments and things and final filming and things. So I had actually started this in between. So I have been working on this for a couple of weeks, not just this week. Although it is quite a simple project and it has come together quite quickly. But yeah, I have been working on this a bit longer than it's going to look like. But that's fine, that's all good. So let's pop these shoulder seams together and I'll walk you through this process. So first things first, we turn it inside out and put the shoulder seams right sides together and keep the lining out of the way. So we're just pinning the outer fabric at the shoulder seams, and we're just going to sew them together at the shoulder seams with the lining held carefully out of the way, and we're matching up the notches and things as usual. Take it over to the sewing machine and sew them together, both shoulders one after the other, and then we can take it back over and press the shoulder seams open. So the outside fabric shoulder seams are closed, but the lining is still open and out of the way. And yes, that's an incredible bit of bobbin chicken. I'm just using my tailor's ham in there to make it a bit easier to press those seams open and keep them nice and flat and tidy. Now I'm going to turn the seam allowances in on both of the lining and the outer fabric. So fold them under and press them into place and pin them. I'm taking one side of the shoulder seam and folding it. I'm not too worried about the edges at the top of that because that's going to be covered over in just a second. When we take the other side and once again fold under the seam allowances, but we're also going to fold under a seam allowance at the top and press that to keep all those edges nice and neat so there's no raw edges on show in the lining, so there's nothing there that's going to fray, and we'll press that and pin that down. We're just going to carry on pinning and pressing and making sure everything's nice and neat. You'll notice, you can probably see there that I'm actually pinning the lining a couple of millimetres inside the outer fabric so that it can't be seen from the right side at all. So just carry on with that. Incidentally, as I'm sitting here doing the voiceover, my tummy is rumbling like nothing on earth. I'm actually getting quite hungry. It must be about tea time. Now, I'm sitting upstairs on the bed. doing my voiceover with the cat asleep on my lap, and I've got no idea if someone's making dinner. I probably should go and find out. Allegedly, dinner's under control. Anywho, we're now going to hand stitch with tiny little slip stitches. So we'll take a little bit of the lining fabric and a little bit of the outer fabric, but we only take a tiny bit of the outer fabric so that it can't actually, your stitches can't be seen on the other side. Oh, the other supervisor's come. Thank you, fingers. Now, as you can hopefully see, it's a bit tricky. Hopefully you can see that by keeping our stitches nice and small, it just keeps everything really, really neat. And we're going to stitch right up both sides of the shoulder there, the armhole side and the neck side, and then we'll obviously do the stitches across as well. And there we go. The stitches can't be seen on the other side, although it's difficult to see because I'm using similar coloured thread. But yeah, believe me, they can't. Now when we're going across these shoulder stitches, we're just sewing the lining. We're not touching the outer fabric at all. I'm going to pop in a hook and eye at the top. Then I'm also going to slip stitch the lining down on either side of the zip. Some people leave that kind of floating free, but I think that's just asking for trouble. The lining gets caught in the zip, so I like to slip stitch mine down nice and tidy. And once that's done, I can turn up the hem just over an inch and a half. And yes, I am completely eyeballing it. It is what it is. I think it's fine. Now when it comes to sewing the hem, I've been taken recently to doing a kind of cross stitch on it. So a tiny stitch from the side that is on the outer fabric, and you can take a little bit more on the side that is on the turned up bit because that won't be seen. So once again, keeping our stitches nice and tiny so that not seen from the outside. And then really I shall see you when I try it on.
Go.
So here's the finished garment. However, you might notice some problems. I think it's a little big and it's a little long. Alterations are going to be needed. So, what can I say? These things happen sometimes in sewing. It's just the way it is. I think what happened was, I used to be a bust 46, and I know I have lost weight, but I don't weigh myself or measure myself or anything because I have, that just opens the door to all sorts of silly things. So I haven't really been paying huge attention to my size. Although since I tried that on, I have tried on a couple of other things that I made last year and have realised, yes, things are a little looser. However, there's also the whole body dysmorphia thing, because over the last few years I've lost quite a lot of weight, but in my brain I haven't. So anyway, I lay awake the other night thinking, and I've mapped out how I'm going to alter it in my head. So the alterations are planned in here, but I can't do it right now because I need to put it aside just now and get on with Cassie's outfit, because she's coming down in 3 weeks. yeah, just over 2 weeks, I think. So I need to get her outfit to a stage where all I need to do is alterations, so that I can do the alterations when she's here and she can take it back up to Scotland with her. So that goes on the back burner for just now, but that's okay. I'm absolutely delighted with the work I did with it. It's beautifully made, which is, you know, a mixed blessing, because it's going to be a nightmare to take apart to alter, because it's, you know, I've done all my finishing properly. Never mind. But we'll get to that in a later video. The Cardigan, however, I am delighted with, absolutely delighted with. But before I show you that, I need to address a complaint that's been made. So a complaint has been levelled at me about the lack of frolicking in my reveal videos of the finished garments. I deeply, deeply apologise. Sometimes we just don't feel like frolicking, sometimes there's just not time for frolicking. But my sister has complained. So Amy, this is for you. Enjoy.
Right, woman, frolic.
I do hope that was sufficient frolicking for everyone. It's not a very nice day. It's very, shall we say, atmospheric day. So I hope that was enough frolicking for you all. We went down to the Anthony estate, and that's the River Tamar that's in the background, which is really beautiful. And it was quite misty, so you couldn't see, but further up off one of the offshoots there's a beautiful I want to say viaduct because I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Bridge, viaduct thing. Very beautiful, but it was too misty to see it today. However, yes, I'm absolutely delighted with the coat again. It's cosy, it's warm, it does all the things it's meant to do. Awesome. Mwah, love it. And it didn't, when I looked at the pattern, I thought, oh, this is going to take me ages to knit, but it actually didn't. It knitted up quite quickly because it was quite chunky. And it was basically a freebie because Stuart picked up a box of that yarn in an auction when he was doing his other, Stuart buys and sells antiques. So when he was buying his other stuff at auction, he picked up this box for very little, and by the time he'd sold the other stuff, it, you know, paid for itself. So I feel really good that it was like basically a freebie, and I'm delighted with it. So that's great. So that's it for this week. We've got a fair amount accomplished, some of it good, some of it bad. We'll see how we get on next week when we start the trousers and waistcoat for Cassie. And I will join you then. So for now, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. It means a lot to me. And I hope that you and your loved ones are safe and well. And I'll see you next time. Love from Liz.
At least I'm gonna say that I tried.
That's the sense of hurting my pride.
I really can't stay.
Oh, baby, don't hold out, baby.
But it's cold outside.